I warned her the hill would fall. She laughed, said sand grows back. But when the storm came and her luxury cabin slid into the mud, she finally understood what the land had been trying to say all along. Chestnut Valley used to be quiet, the kind of place where the wind through the sycamores was louder than any argument. I'd lived there over 20 years. After retiring from the Army Corps of Engineers, I just wanted peace soil to mend my hands, a place to remember my wife. The land had been her family's 120 acres tucked between sandstone ridges and a small stream that whispered more truth than most people do. The HOA back then was harmless picnics, newsletters, friendly reminders about leash laws. That was before she arrived. Karen Levington. Blonde Bob designer sunglasses, smile like a real estate ad you couldn't escape. She moved in with a white SUV and a vision of modernizing the community. Within weeks, she'd charmed her way into the presidency of the HOA. No one questioned it. No one ever does until it's too late. Under her reign, the BBQs turned into catered networking events. The newsletters became mandates. Suddenly, we had compliance inspections, neighbors with clipboards snapping pictures of porches and mailboxes like undercover cops. Still, I kept my head down. My property sat at the far end of the valley, half forgotten on the HOA map. I paid my dues, waved politely, kept my distance. Peace ended one spring morning when I heard machines, real ones, heavy growling. The ground shook beneath my boots. I climbed the ridge behind my house and froze. Down below, 3 yellow excavators were biting into the hillside right into my land. And there she was, Karen, standing beside a silver trailer, waving her manicured hand like a movie director. I drove straight to the HOA office, clutching my land deeds and surveys. The building, once a modest community hall, had been remodeled into a miniature courthouse, gold trim and all. I demanded to see her. She came out smiling like she'd been expecting me. "Mr. Whitaker," she said, all honey and poison. "That equipment is on my property," I told her. "You're digging into a fragile slope. You need to stop." She tilted her head. "According to our latest plat, that section falls under the Community Redevelopment Plan." "Not on my land, it doesn't." I laid out my documents. "This deed's from 1998. Nothing's changed." "I'm afraid our records differ," she said, pretending sympathy. "But feel free to file for a variance." I could feel my jaw lock. "If that hillside slides, you'll be footing lawsuits." She laughed, actually laughed. "Don't be dramatic, Daniel. It's just sand." "No, I thought it's balance. You take enough of it from the wrong place and the earth remembers." By the next week, the digging doubled. Then came the letter's fines for imaginary violations. My barn roof too rusty. My hose visible from street noise complaints about my tractor. I lived alone. It was harassment dressed as regulation. Neighbors stopped waving. Even Peter, the guy who once borrowed my ladder, wouldn't meet my eyes. Only old Mara Gomez, a retired teacher, whispered to me at the grocery store. "They're taking sand every morning," she said. "No permits." I know I told her, "Just keep your head down," but I couldn't. Every scoop from those machines sounded like a heartbeat being stolen. So I fought the only way I knew, through evidence. I sent reports to the county slope analyses, GPS data photographs. Nothing. Bureaucracy was Karen's weapon, and silence was her shield. Then came the letter taped to my door. No signature, just the HOA logo. "Continued resistance will result in enforcement actions. Reconsider your tone." I sat at my kitchen table under that dim bulb, staring at those words. My hands trembled not with fear, but rage. For a moment I thought about giving up, selling, leaving the valley to the vultures. Maybe I was the fool fighting progress. Maybe this was how communities moved on, by burying the stubborn ones. Then my daughter Rachel called from Arizona. She said, "Dad, you sound tired." "I am," I told her. She paused. "You always taught us not to let anyone take what's ours. Don't start now." That pulled me back. That night I reopened my old laptop, drew slope diagrams, ran simulations like I used to overseas. My analysis showed what I feared most: they'd removed the load-bearing toe. One strong storm, and the whole southern ridge would collapse. I sent my findings again this time to every address I could find. Still no response. Karen's project grew fast, 6 eco-luxury cabins rising on stolen earth. They advertised them online. Chestnut Escape, nature meets elegance. I nearly choked on the irony. Then, one afternoon, a man in a blue sport coat showed up at my gate. "I represent the investors behind Chestnut Escape," he said smoothly. "We'd like to buy your remaining parcel. Fair price plus 15%. This land isn't for sale." I said, "You might reconsider. We could help with your compliance issues." I laughed. Was that a threat? Just a practical path forward. I slammed the gate. "Tell Karen the only thing I'm selling is truth, and it's not cheap." That night I called an old Army buddy, Hank, now in environmental enforcement. He looked over my data and swore. "They didn't trench for runoff. Not an inch," I said. "One good storm, Danny, and that slope's gone. Get out of the way when it happens." So I prepared. I moved my tools, set up trail cameras along the ridge-logged soil shifts every day. And then rain. It started gentle, like forgiveness. Then harder. By midnight, thunder rolled through the valley like cannon fire. From my porch, I watched the slope tremble under sheets of rain. Cabin lights flickered in the distance, ghostly fragile. At 2:14 a.m., the ground exhaled. A long, low groan, the sound of the valley finally giving up. My cameras blinked, then went black. When dawn came, I climbed down. 3 of the 6 cabins were gone, swallowed whole. The others hung half-buried decks, twisted like broken limbs. Mud had poured through the construction site like a judgment. My house still stood untouched just beyond the slide line. The irony stung. Sheriff's deputies and reporters arrived by noon. The HOA board sloshed through the wreckage in rubber boots, faces pale. Karen showed up last. Her perfect hair was plastered to her face, her fancy jacket streaked with mud. I walked up to her holding my laminated report. "You knew," I said quietly. "3 weeks ago, I warned you." She shook her head. "I didn't see it." Bull. A deputy stepped between us, but it didn't matter. The cameras caught everything. That afternoon, the story hit the local news. Luxury cabins destroyed in landslide, experts warned HOA weeks before. And suddenly, everyone wanted my copies. The county, the press, the insurance investigators. Then came the discovery, a half-buried file cabinet dug out of the mud near the cabins. Inside were HOA documents, fake soil reports, altered permit signatures that didn't match. Fraud, plain and simple. The fallout was fast. The so-called Chestnut cover-up dominated headlines for weeks. Karen's kingdom crumbled faster than her cabins. 2 board members turned on her claiming ignorance. Investigators traced forged signatures back to her office computer. When I testified, she wouldn't meet my eyes. The prosecutor asked, "In your professional opinion, Mr. Whitaker, was this preventable?" "Completely," I said, if someone had listened. Her shoulders sagged. The verdict came quick: 3 years probation, permanent ban from HOA office. A slap on the wrist maybe, but enough to exile her from the world she worshipped. The county declared my section a conservation zone protected from development forever. The same land she tried to steal was now legally untouchable, and her luxury dream bulldozed. I wish I could say I felt triumphant, but mostly I felt hollow. Because by the time truth wins, it's already buried too many things. Trust neighbors, sometimes even hope. Still, the valley heals. Grass grows again over the scar. People talk again softly, cautiously. They nod when they see me now, not out of pity, but respect. Maybe they finally learned that silence costs more than speaking up. Some nights I sit on my porch and listen to the creek. It hums, steady, peaceful, like it's forgiven us all. Karen once said sand grows back. She was half right. The land does recover, but it remembers. And so do I. Lesson: when power ignores truth, nature enforces it.